Thanks, guys. Good afternoon, Carlos. Hope you're well. Could we start with your team news, Carlos? I'm thinking last time out, Daniel Sinani was ill. Matty Pearson dropped to the bench. How are those two?
Matty Pearson is fine. He was in the bench because he couldn't train in the previous week before Barnsley. He has complete not all the week, but only missed one training of all this week. So he's going to be one of the available players for tomorrow game. Unfortunately, Sinani didn't come back with the group. So he will be making the normal test tomorrow with the medical staff, and if everything is fine, he will come back to the trainings from the next week.
What's the nature of Daniel's illness, Carlos?
He had the COVID. We did the test with him, and at the end, unfortunately, he took the COVID. He started the symptoms on Wednesday before we played with Barnsley. That's why he was not training previous that game. That's why he wasn't involved with the team. After we knew the result, we can say this. And then, unfortunately, he had this COVID situation that don't allow him to be with the group from last Tuesday to the next week.
And how is he now? Is he well? Has he experienced quite bad symptoms? Or
no, the symptoms start just from Wednesday, disappeared on Friday, but the result was a positive case of COVID without symptoms from the third day after starting of the symptoms.
Another player to ask you about, Jordan Rhodes, played for the B team again during the week. How close is Jordan to first team action? How's he getting on?
No, the normal thing is that tomorrow we are going to be with the squad.
Great stuff. One other player, Dwayne Holmes. How is he and his family after the birth of his son during the week?
Of course, it's an important moment for him. We say all the congratulations from us, from the staff, from the other teammates, from the club. He had this special moment. He couldn't be with the squad because he was 3 days in the hospital because the situation take more time. That was the first idea. But he has made the normal training with the group during all this week, and he's going to be another of available player for tomorrow.
And how is he in general? I bet he's over the moon, isn't he?
I think fine, because sometimes it's true that before to that moment you can have a little bit of stress if everything is going to work well. He spent a couple of 3 days in the hospital, and it is not easy to reduce this stress, but as soon as the baby is birthed, then is now with him and with the mom, and the situation starts to be more normal for him. Even if it's new, he will adapt. I hope that he can sleep normal. That's why we have the option to go to the hotel tonight and be sure that the players sleep well and they are focused 100% in the game and be ready to compete tomorrow. That this is exactly what we need.
How have this week, no midweek game again this week, Carlos, how has the mood been coming out of the Barnsley game and the preparations going forward to tomorrow?
We have made a normal week. We prepare the week in the normal way that we can prepare. For me, of course, the time that you spend in the training is higher when you don't have any game in between, and you can have a full attention to prepare the game and to put the level of the team in the highest point that we want to put.
What kind of things have you focused on this week, Carlos? I've noticed your side haven't at any point this season gone 4 games without a win. How confident are you that trend will continue tomorrow?
I think always is important. How you say 4 games without win?
Yeah, it's not happened so far this season for your side.
No, it's very important that every time, of course, you don't achieve the result that you want to achieve. And for me, we didn't achieve the result that we wanted to achieve in the previous 3 games. Always is important to show the spirit that allows us to react and to face the situation and how we need to face. The mentality of the group of players is always go for the games, is always try to go for the 3 points, is prepare the games in the best way that we can prepare. Sometimes we get our target. Sometimes, unfortunately, we don't get our target. And every time, of course, we are not getting what we want to achieve. We need to increase the focus, increase the work, increase the motivation to achieve this, increase the confidence in ourselves too that we can achieve, because we know that these things are going to be necessary to come face important opponents that are going to compete with you for the target that we have.
In terms of if we go back to the Barnsley game, Josh Koroma hit the bar. Levi Colwell had a chance early on. He maybe should have scored. Do you feel it's been a case a lot recently that your side have created the chances, but they're struggling to finish them? In the last 9 games, your side haven't scored more than 1 goal in a game. Is that becoming a concern for you?
No, the first thing to score the goal, of course, is create the chance. The only concern that we can have is like we know that the results in the last 3 games weren't enough positive with the mentality that we have. Then it's true that we need to react, and the option to react is to defend better and to attack better. When you attack better, you create more chances, but this is the first step. The fact that you create more chances doesn't mean anything, because in football, you finish the target of every attack when the goal is in the net of the opponent. Until that moment, of course, the more options that you have, the more possibilities you are going to have, but doesn't mean anything. If I analyze Barnsley, I think that we created more chances than in the previous games, but it's true that in defense, we didn't show our level, and Barnsley have some good opportunities too to create options. And it's true that in some of the moments, the control of the last passion didn't arrive to the moment where we traduce from one attack to one chance. So I think it's still gap to create more chances. It's still gap to defend better to avoid any possibility of the opponent. And for me, when the games are too close, the small details can make a big difference, are not small. Then we need to have a lot of focus and concentration in these small but very, very important things.
How do you work on that then, Carlos? You say, yes, creating chances, but finishing them and also making sure you're defensively sound if you can't put them away. What have you worked on this week and throughout the season to ensure that?
At the end, we need to work every single moment. The first step is to analyze with the player which small details are going to make a lot of difference. We can talk about the second phase of one set piece. Like, for example, we considered the 1 goal in one moment that we were managing very well so far. That was the second phase of the set pieces in defense. The other day, in the last minute of the first half, or in the extra time, injury time of the first half, first of all, we defend the action more deep than usually we are defending. Second thing, we start to lose our positions to defense before we were recovering the ball. As soon as you lose defensive position before you recover the ball, you start to open space in the last line. And it was exactly what Barley was doing. But in another moments of the game, for me, in moments where we were pressing, our positions weren't enough well to defend and control the strikers of the opponent team. In the moments where the team was not making the press, we didn't close enough well the space, and we allowed them to find many times the pass with the strikers. So there are points, more, like I told you, things that are part behaviors, defensive behaviors and attacking attack behaviors that didn't help us to show the feeling that we were controlling perfectly the game. As soon as you don't have the full control of the game, that is the highest challenge in football, you start to put one result more on risk. The more details we control, the more situations we dominate, the more options we have to control the result that we want to achieve.
Another question on goals, Carlos. Danny Ward scored 4, Matty Pearson scored 3. Other than those two, there's no player in the squad at the moment who have scored more than 2 goals this season. Do you want to see maybe more from midfield players taking shots a little bit more, or are you happy with the chances created?
No, I think we have one gap to create better chances. And this is, of course, the responsibility starting from the keeper, from the centre backs, and from every player in the pitch. It's true that usually the attacking players are the players that have to finish the chances, but it's true that we need to give to them the option, and they need to give to the centre back the solutions to make the ball arrive more times. So at the end in football, everything is related with everything. If we don't make a good build up, for example, and we start to lose balls before we get the chance, it's going to be more difficult for the strikers to have options to score the goals. If in the situation under press, we are reactive instead to be proactive to eliminate the pressings, at the end the strikers are going to have less options to break the press and then to create the chance that we need to create. So at the end, for me, the work of every single player that is in the pitch is going to be key to defend well and to attack well. Sometimes our attacks are going to start in the decisions or the execution level of the keeper, and our defensive moments are going to start in the decisions and executions of our strikers. So it means that in football, everyone is connected with everyone. The better connection we have, the better relation we create, the better understanding of the game we have, the better level to execute to make in the pitch what we know that we have to do. In better conditions, we are going to create opportunities, and the more chances are going to arrive.
Another attacking option you have on the bench is Mipo. Came on against Barnsley. One, how satisfied were you with his performance? Do you think he needs to offer a little bit more? And two, how close is Mipo to a start? Another attacking option you have there.
I think right now we are having with Campbell, with Rhodes, with Danny Ward, and with Mipo, 4 strikers in the team. It's true that Mipo arrived to the team because we lost in the preseason Rhodes. That was the striker that as a club we signed here and we bring this year to the club to improve this area of the pitch. Then during the time that he's here working with us, and during the time that Rhodes was injured, he saw that he's a special player, that he is very talented player, but it's true that he needs to grow in this experience to the championship to arrive to be the important player that I know that he will be. But it is true that he's one player that, because doesn't have the habit to play in the championship, because was having the experience to play in the 23 levels, but with a very good conditions, is one player that will need time for me to have the impact that he will do in this league, even in highest league, because I think he's one very interesting player.
Thoughts on tomorrow then, looking ahead? Coventry City, they're 4 points ahead of you in the table. What have you made about them so far this season? By all accounts, they're winning a lot of plaudits. They're having a good season.
It's true that for me, the position at the table only show how well they are doing the things this year. It's one team that even the second lap of the last year, they were performing really well. They have achieved to keep some of the important players that they moved to the club on loan the second part of the last year, and now they have signed. So for me, one team that they know between them a lot. They are working during enough long time working together. And for me, they are competing and playing, performing fantastic. So it means that the challenge tomorrow was to be really, really, really important challenge for both teams.
Final one from me, 4 points behind them, Huddersfield Town. If you are going to be in the playoff contention come the end of the season, is this a game you really need to win to beat a fellow playoff contender?
I think our target is to be very competitive every single game. I don't have any of these objectives that we have. More than to be thinking the position at the table, I need to be thinking that the team compete and control all the moments of the game in the best way that we can control. This is going to be our full target for tomorrow.
Excellent. Thanks, Carlos. Well, best of luck for tomorrow. Thank you.
Stephen?
Hi, Carlos. You mentioned that Jordan Rhodes is going to be in the squad tomorrow. What do you think he brings that is different to what you've had with Danny Ward, Fraser Campbell and Mipo?
It's true that every striker that we are having in the club, for me, is a little bit different. Danny Ward, perhaps, is one striker that has a little bit of, or dominate all the aspect for me of one striker in terms of the linking and dropping to play, in terms of the options to make the movement in behind, in terms of the be in the box, around the box when we cross and help the team to defend well. Campbell is one striker that his strengths is always the sacrifices for the team. So we want a striker that can drop, can make the movement in behind, because for me it's very clever making the movement in behind, but his spirit, how he dedicates, how he lives his job, he lives the things with one level of intensity and passion too high. That's why his contribution always you feel when you have Campbell in the pitch. It's difficult to see one game where he's in the pitch and you are not thinking that he is not making feel that he's in the pitch. I think Mipo is one talented player with a very good level of finishing, but that he needs the adaptation to the championship, to the level of the championship, or to the type of opponents, or to the relation with the team, to can impact and show his conditions. Because sometimes the players have a missing condition, but they need to find the way to show this condition in the pitch. For me, he has all the conditions to have success in that league. But it's true that for one young player with our experience in the championship, he needs this time to adaptation where he can move his conditions to the football pitch in the games. And after, Rhodes is totally different because he's one player with a lot of experience in the championship. So he has the experience to know some of the resources that one striker have to have. And for me, I understand that Rhodes is one player that inside to the box, in any divide ball, he has a special instinct to finish the attacks and create and score goals. So that's why I told you that everyone is a very good striker. Everyone gives us very good possibilities. But it's true that every of the 4 strikers that we have is different with everyone. So it means that you can make the decision to play with 2 strikers like we did the previous week, play with Campbell and with Danny Ward, or we can do exactly the same tomorrow from starting, from during the game, because I think like everyone is different. They can play together too.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. There was a change of shape last week. Are you maybe looking at other options besides the 3-4-3 now, or was that purely just the personnel you had available last week?
I think always depend about how I feel our team is, how the players are, how the opponent is going to attack or defense. We will select one of the 3 shapes that we are working from the beginning. We're working in attacking the 4-3-3, in the 3-5-2, and the 3-4-3. In defense, we're working in the 4-4-1-1, the 3-5-2, in the 3-4-3-2. So depend about the players that we have available, depend about the moments of the players, we'll decide one or one other one. It's not the same. Like for example, if he's playing Holmes as a winger that we know that is one player that usually drop, or play Colom as a winger that we know that is one player that is more close to be a striker than to be midfielder. Holmes is one player that even if he play higher, is one player more close to be playmaker than to be winger. So for me, it's not just about one idea of the shape, it's about which players we think they are in the best moment to contribute with the team. Because at the end, it's just be asking for the players the things that we know that they can do. If you ask to just Coroma to drop and lead the play, it will be a mistake because it's a player that he needs to be the closer to the last line of the defenders, or more wide or more inside, to create the maximum number of finishing situations, because we know that he can make difference in the finish situation. So for me, everything depends about the moment of the play that we are working with.
And speaking of wingers, Danny Grant has been back for the B team, and he was your spare man last week. How is he getting along? Can we expect to see him in the squad soon?
Yes, he has options to come tomorrow, be available player. I think the situation with Grant is special because I are watching another talented player, but one player that in 1 year or close to 1 year right now, he couldn't be in consistency with the B team or with the first team. He's one young player that we wanted to develop him the last year as a B team player, to making the transition that some players were doing, like could be Coroma or could be Scott High or could be Solva Thomas, that players that they were doing this transition. But he couldn't do because was one player that during 1 year, he was more time injury than available to make even the training. As soon as he start to fix the problem that he's having, the muscle problems that he's having, he will be one player that will start to have more important in the team. Sorry, Steve, I am not listening to you.
Sorry, yeah, that was my fault. Another player who was back for the B team was Aaron Rowe. How's he doing?
Was the first minute for Aaron Rowe after a long term of one injury. For me, he was progressing well in terms of how many minutes he was playing to be the first time that he was playing. In the B team, he was starting very well in the game. And after, with the pass of the minute, he was showing that it's normal that he is going to need more time to work, to control very well in the defensive moment and to give a lot of possibilities to the attack. But for me, he's one player that he fit perfectly to the wing-back position.
Be another good option to have, wouldn't he? For particularly that right wing-back role.
Yes, I think as soon as he start to complete trainings, as soon as he start to have some minutes in the B team, he will be another of the options that we are going to manage to help the squad to compete well.
And Pippa as well, another option for that side. How's he getting on?
Pipa is doing a positive improvement. It's true that in some moments we need we have to stop his develop because his reaction to the high intensity work. But in the last week, he's managing better the pain, or he's reducing a lot the pain. And we hope that the next week is going to be key to increase the intensity in the trainings. And as soon as he manages well the high intensity of the football, not the high intensity that we want to create to the players, it's just the high intensity, the normal actions that football demand you, he will be one of the players that, of course, we know that he's an important player, and he will be one of the players. One of the options that we have as a player. Is a pity to have one player like him losing all the time that we are losing him, because it's true that the injury that we are, the consequence of the injury that we are having right now, start from the last games of the previous year. So we are talking that we don't have Pipa in his normal level from the last or the previous last international break, or the last international break of the previous year. I remember that the last game that he was playing with a normal conditions was against Sheffield Wednesday away. After that game, he was traveling with Spain playing, but he started to have one pain that made him impossible to play without pain and to compete in the normal level that he can. And I cannot tell you exactly which day we are talking about this, but we are talking that he is missing his normal level, and he is not playing without pain, or is not training without pain from that time. So it's true that he's one of the important players that we have, and of course he's one player that we want to recover because we know that he can help a lot the group of the players.
And after the Barnsley game, there were quite audible boos from the fans. Do you think that's a fair response on their part?
I think I understand any type of reaction of every football fan. Being honest, when I was in the pitch, I can ask more to our fans, because I think they are giving a lot support to the team. And of course, it's important that they feel that we as a team, we are giving everything to go to the games. And every time to our fans, we are giving our best, they always are giving their best too. So this is one relation that I think has to work like this. We need to give to them to the best and mobilize them to make enjoy with the team, and they feel how important they can be with us and help and contribute the team, what they were doing. I can remember the game of West Bromwich, that for me was a very special game where we were feeling all the support close to us. But the previous game, of course, after in Middlesbrough, when we are not competing well in the first half, was important. Was difficult for us to mobilize them in the best way because we didn't show our level. But even in the second half, we're feeling that the fans were with the team, supporting us. And we suffer when we know that we are not giving our normal performance to them.
Yeah. You mentioned that Sinani's out with COVID. Have you had any other COVID absentees for this weekend at all, or fine now?
Yes. Fortunately, only Sinani was the only player with the COVID situation.
Okay. That's all from me. Thanks, Carlos. Good luck tomorrow.
Stuart, anything? Hi, Carlos. Have you had to change any of your protocols this week because of COVID? I know that the Premier League have asked for a tightening up, but have you had to change anything?
Only today was the first time that we couldn't make the breakfast here before the training, or the pre-hub, or the pre-training that usually we are doing in the gym. We didn't do. We were doing this part of this work in the pitch. And of course, we are increasing the measures that we need to increase in terms of the mask, of the distance, and everything that we can control, knowing that it's a difficult situation to manage.
Does it make preparations more difficult, or are you so used to it now as a group?
No, the preparation is just all attention to the situation. So I cannot tell you that any situation is affecting negative the performance. If we don't perform well, it's because we are not doing the things enough well, not because the situation of COVID.
And it's just natural that all players will have spells where they're playing well, spells where they're not playing well. They're human beings. Was Josh Karoma's performance against Barnsley a sign that he's getting back to his best form?
I think so. For me, it was important to see an improvement in Josh, especially, first of all, in the will of the player. in the intention of the player, I say that one GPS never is going to show you if you play well or you play bad. But one value is GPS show how much are you receiving or not a lot.
I have. You're just a bit in and out, but it's okay.
So I think the GPS that doesn't show if you're playing well or you're not playing well, but can show you how much effort you put to compete well and to try to help the team. And the other day I was watching that Josh Koroma have recovered, other day he recovered some of the values that he was having. The last year he was performing really well, and I think the best action of Koroma will arrive when he come back with this dynamic that he recover or start to recover the previous week.
And you mentioned earlier how the team's different when Koroma is playing or Sinani, or when Rhodes is playing or Ward. Do the other individuals have to adapt much? Do you have to work much on that, or is it fairly natural when you have that change?
No, I think it's just to know what you can ask to the player, because for me, if we will ask to Josh Koroma to draw more to link, will be something negative for him and for the team, because it's not his strength. I think Koroma need to have to be one player, one winger that have to be very focused to make the movement in behind, to receive the ball if it's possible in the back of the last line better, if it's not possible in the back of the last line, close to the last line, and to use and to be brave to manage the 1v1 that he has, to trying to give or the last pass or the finishing situation. It's true that we are talking about Koroma, about this moment of fit, or this moment where you perform better or worse, but at the end, Koroma is a very young player, where he was in the championship during 3 months the last year, because unfortunately he couldn't have more time in the championship. So he's a player that he did a lot of impact when he was in this short period of time. He did a lot of impact, but it's true that he's one player that didn't manage yet the option to be more in a row or to extend this time. And this is one challenge that every young player, every new player in one league need to show that they are enough stables to compete regularly, because this is for me the highest demand of the championship. I don't have any type of doubt in the young players about the condition that they have, but it's true that the next challenge after you have the condition is to show that you can impose this condition in the games when you are playing a long period of time. So for me, even Josh is another young player that didn't have the experience in the back to compete in a row in a high-level league. He had the opportunity to show that he has the conditions. He saw this the last year, and during 3 months, he had, for me, a very positive impact, but now it's the challenge for him to continue showing that he can extend this performance with a long period of time.
And just on Jordan Rhodes again, I mean, he had a difficult time at Sheffield Wednesday in terms of not many consistent opportunities. When you started working with him, did you notice a player who really seemed to be enjoying the opportunity of being regularly involved in first team football again?
I think when I see Rhodes working, first of all, when I saw him in the pre-season, I didn't watch the striker that I know that he is. Because for me, the restriction in the mobility consequence of the pain of the back limited his possibilities. So I didn't watch the level that I know that he has, and I didn't see the player that we bring here to the club, or the expectation in the player that we have here. When we bring here to the club, he couldn't show, because his injury stopped any opportunity for him to make the normal movements. And when you're a striker and you cannot move well, you cannot do anything. Yeah. And after the time that we stopped him, I say from the beginning that I start to see the real Rhodes and the player that we bring here to the club, because I start to see one player with more mobility, no mobility in terms of the draw movements or long movements, just to one player that feel more coordinated and feel more normal and fluently to make the movements that he needs to control, to pass, to finishing, to head the ball, to make the normal action that one striker has to do. Of course, we have another challenge that we have to work with him, because he's one player that can grow still in the intents to make a pressing and help the team to press higher. And this dynamic or this mobility is going to improve him not only in the pressing and the movements that he can offer in behind of the defenders, that we know that if one striker manages the draw movements and manage the movement in behind, start to be a full striker. Then it's true that for me, these movements are the movements that we will continue working for him, because we know that the more mobile player he is and the faster player that he can be, with his clever ideas, the more dangerous striker he will be and the more impact he can have in the box. So our target with him is, from he have recovered from the injury, continue working in the level that he need to work, and to continue watching that he has beat the difficult moment of the restriction mobility that he had and that he couldn't manage to can have the impact that we want.
So although he's a much older player than Josh Koroma, is he going to? Are we going to have to be patient with him in terms of him building up that mobility and that fitness before we see the best Jordan Rhodes again for Huddersfield?
I think he's ready now to have the impact that he has to do in the Championship. The only challenge, right, but I think he's one player that if I move him in the bench, it's because I start to be thinking that he start to be ready.
And just finally for me, the Championship table is very tight in your part of the Championship. The way December is, there'll be lots of weeks, I imagine, where you might go, up quite a lot of places or down quite a lot of places. We've seen, Middlesbrough and Sheffield United leap up recently. How important is it that everyone doesn't overreact too much to a good week or a bad week?
I think that you say everything is too tight between the opponents. It means that when one game is too competitive, the small tests are going to have a lot of importance. So this is the only thing, that my only conclusion that I have. In this league, you have to, of course, show your best level in attack and in defense, but sometimes with your best levels in attack and defense is not enough. And you need to control some small details can make a lot of difference. You can be making something very well during 90 minutes in the extra time, like happened the other day, the first half. In the extra time of the first half, we didn't defend well, with enough concentration, one action, and was enough to lose the option to win 3 points. Maybe the goal could arrive before or later. I am not telling you that we were performing very well the first 45 minutes, because it's not true. But it's true that when you are getting one positive result and you are in a good moment, in this competition, you cannot lose the concentration 1 single second, because we are one team that if we lose this concentration 1 single second, we can suffer in the consequence, and change the dynamic can be harder for us. So we are one team that we know that the hard work, the sacrifice, the mentality are going to be key points for us to be a very competitive team.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Carlos. Good luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
Alfie, anything at all?
Hi, Carlos. How are you doing?
Good, thank you.
Good stuff. Just a couple of quick ones from me. You spoke about the formations earlier. How much does Matty Pearson's availability alter your thinking with whether it's a back three or a back four?
I think he's a player that can play with 2 central backs as a central back, but he's a player that, of course, for me, suits very well to the position to play with 3 central backs. As soon as we bring to the club playing with experience like can be Lees and Matty Pearson with many minutes, Lees, I think, is close to be one of the players, if he continues his normal progression, one of the players with more minutes in the Championship. And the last year of Matty Pearson showed that he's one player that was playing close to 4,000 minutes in the Championship. And as soon as you bring player like Canby, for example, with a lot of talent like Canby, Colwill, you start to have important players. So you have 3 important players plus Sara. That is another player that was playing many minutes for us the last year. So for me, at the end, part of the decision of the set depends about the players that we have, the roles of the player that we have, and that's why we were here to the club. So if I start to be thinking that we have 4 important central backs, leave 2 is more complicated than just leave 1 central back. And especially the team is having the experience to play with the central backs. But to these players, I know that Turton can play as a central back because he was playing the last year in League One as a central back. And I know that Toffolo can play as a central back too, because with us the last year against Watford at home, against Coventry, the last year when we were playing at home, he was playing or defending as a central back and after attacking as a full back. Another player that was the last year was Vallejo, that was playing as a midfielder and central back, and Hoggy, another player too. So it's true that it shows that many of our players can play as a central backs and cover 1 position. So it means that play with 3 central backs always suit to the number of players that we are having in the squad. but doesn't mean that is the only shape for me that we can manage. After you have players like are going to feel better playing with line of 4 than playing with line of 5, because, for example, our fullbacks, for me, switch more to play with line of 4 than to play with line of 5. Because to be wing back, you need different conditions than to be fullback. So at the end, this is the balance, and this is what we need to think, how the team feel now more strong, more comfortable, and find more harmony. And this is, of course, my job to make the right decision. When the team is harmony, it means that the players are performing well, and when the team doesn't find this level of fluently, it's because I didn't find the way to make the team play like this.
Yeah, and finally from me, if I can just ask you about Sorba Thomas and his form at the minute. Are you happy with the way that he's playing? He doesn't seem to be impacting games as much as he maybe was in the first month or two of the season.
I think part of the comments that I told you when I was talking about Koroma, I can tell you when I am talking about Sorba Thomas. Sorba Thomas has shown that he has conditions to impact in the championship, because he did. But the challenge is not have these conditions. The challenge is to have the condition to be consistency, showing and impact the games when the condition that you have. And this is one challenge that every player that start to play in one league need to show. Sorba Thomas arrived last year playing one total different league, because he was in a 3 or 4 levels below the level of the championship. But was one player that during this preseason, during the starting of this year, he was playing with a lot of self-confidence and a lot of self-demanding. And this is 2 points that always for me is important that every player manages very well. Because in some moments when you start to lose the self-demanding, for me the key is the self-demanding. Because for me, the highest is the self-demanding. For me, the self-confidence is the consequence of the self-demanding. The more you demand yourself and you have skills, the more confidence you want to have, because you are going to make your skills work. But as soon as you start to lose self-demanding, and I don't tell you that this is the case of Sorba, but as soon as you start to be lose or start to have less self-demanding, you can perform worse, and these things can affect your level of confidence. But if you are very self-demanding without level of confidence, it's not going to work neither. So at the end, for me, every new player in one league need to balance this point. In some points, you think that everything is perfect, is working very well, but these things are not difficult that it happen. Because when you are new in the first steps, everything is like excited, and you can be the best. The challenge appears after to keep this and to be stable and consistent in your performance. And it's normal that Sorba Thomas have these moments where we are not watching him in the level that he was at the beginning, because he didn't have the experience to cancel this level of stability. And this is for me the challenge that he has, but every new player in any season, when in the league, is going to have and is going to suffer. The same with Aaron Rowe the last year, the same with Koroma this year, because the last year he only was playing 3 months. And that's why for me, the difference between the experienced player or the inexperienced player. The experienced ones, they have beat this situation before. But player like Mipo, player like Aaron Rowe, player like Koroma, player like Sorba Thomas, they are young players that they need to win this stability. For Scott High is the same. Our player that didn't have the experience, and for O'Brien 2 years ago was exactly the same. And they have to be ready to beat this difficulty, because this is part of the growing as a player.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Good luck tomorrow.
Thanks to you.